Thank you, Ms. Ah Loo. Senator Mullen, you have indicated that you might not have full time. If you would like to proceed with your questions first, I'm certainly happy to defer.
That would be awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much. First of all, again, thank you for everybody being here. My question is going to be referred mainly to the chief. Can you, in your testimony, sir, you said that 30% of the income from Cherokee Nation owned businesses flow into the general fund, and that's, as I think you said, that's a Cherokee Nation law that requires that, right? Does that apply to Cherokee Federal?
Thank you, Senator. It does. So our statute specifically says 37%. The idea that I think gets suggested sometimes that the corporations least associated with Cherokee Nation, I think it's true across any country, are somehow disassociated with the tribe would just be mystifying to most Cherokees because it's one and the same. So 37% of the net profit goes into our government programs, and the result is really incredible. And so the health system that you and I grew up in, top-down, underfunded IHS, that doesn't exist at Cherokee Nation anymore because the revenue that we could bring in to build clinics, hospitals, fund special programs that the United States didn't fund. We can do that. Scholarships. 5,000 kids on a scholarship right now. Why? Because that 37% goes to fund scholarships that otherwise we couldn't fund. Housing. The United States spends about the same today on native housing, frankly, that it did 2 decades ago. What do? We pass a law that says on top of that 37%, we get $40 million to bring to bear to build new housing. So we can solve problems because we have this revenue flow through our diversified business portfolio, but federal contracting has been key to that.
Example to what the chief was talking about the healthcare system. We grew up going to Hastings. That's where we received dental, emergency care, surgeries, vision. And I used it a lot. Oh, yeah. And now that hospital or that building's turned into a partnership with Oklahoma State to train new doctors specifically for rural America and Indian country. What a great partnership that is. It's wonderful to me to be able to go to that building now where I had actually a lot of bad memories from, and to see it being used to train our next generation of healthcare providers. Not to put you in a bad spot, but do you know approximately how much money that you flow into these programs?
Well, the 37% dividend, I'm not prepared to tell you what our entire, just because I don't have it, what our entire business is, but over the last decade, just federal contracting, that portion of it has put $364 million into Cherokee Nation. So our marshal's here today. Just to give you one more example to illustrate, our marshal, Daniel Meade's here today. When his agency had to meet the moment for McGirt and lean in and provide public safety, Senator, I don't know what we would have done when you and I were kids if Cherokee Nation was in that position in terms of resources. But that $364 million just from federal contracting, some of that, $10 million of it, went immediately into scaling up a law enforcement system. I could go up and down the spreadsheet of programs and show you how that $364 million over the last decade just from federal contracting has solved problems not only for Cherokees and not only for Zion School that got that school bus, but countless other communities that are just counting on the Cherokee Nation. I mean, rural northeast Oklahoma would hurt incredibly bad if suddenly contracting was sucked out of the economy.
I mean, and it's very common for the council members to actually, this is like one of their biggest jobs.
Sure.
I mean, they're able to bring funding into their district faster than we can bring in federal funding. A prime example is the last mile going to our home, our ranch. The public schools there, Westville, got where they couldn't run their buses down it because it was so bad, and there was a public-private partnership, or actually it was public-private partnership that took place because between us, Cherokee Nation, and Adair County, we were able to repave that last mile to be able to have the buses go down there. Now they weren't picking up our kids. Because our kids were going to Zion, but Westville it benefits, as the chief said, not just native citizens, but non-natives as well. And that's one of the advantages that we have. And so, and Cherokee Nation, Chickasaws, Choctaws, and all the other tribes that are responsible for certain counties, they do the same thing. So thank you for that testimony. Thank you, Chair, for giving me this opportunity. And I've got to run, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Mullen. And I just really appreciate the perspective that you bring to discussions like this with lived experiences. So we always get great witnesses, but when you can give real-world examples that you and your family have experienced.
Well, I've only grown up in one place, and that's in Indian country. Never lived any place else, and neither have my kids.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair Murkowski, and thank you to all of you for your testimony. Ms. Ah Loo, we all know in this room, but it's important for the record to state that there are different kinds of entities that can participate in the 8A program, and it can get a little complicated. So can you help us to understand what an NHO is and what the role of NHO is in these 8A programs?
So an NHO is a Native Hawaiian organization.
I don't think it's on. When it's red, it's on.
Got it. Thank you. An NHO is a Native Hawaiian organization that is chartered in the state of Hawaii. We're a nonprofit entity, and we are chaired by individuals. The Native Hawaiian organization must be controlled by Native Hawaiians, and we work, side by side with our ANC partners and our tribal partners. But we operate under different rules and laws.
Tell me about the success of NHOs over the last few years because of 8A.
Sure. So we have been able to increase our presence in the federal sector, and in doing so and becoming more mature, we have been able to generate, significant proceeds that we've been able to invest into community organizations, some of them which you are probably very familiar with, Polynesian Voyaging Society, Iolani Palace, Purple Maya. And these organizations help our community either with workforce development training, entrepreneurship classes, also with cultural preservation, and other educational opportunities as well.
Thank you very much. So the law requires that tribes, ANCs, and NHOs report on the benefits that they provide. But it seems to me in our interactions, just briefly over the last couple of days, and then my staff's interaction with the NHOA over months and years, it seems to me that the SBA's requirements are rather slender, and that you folks are actually doing a more robust reporting than what the statute or the rules require. Can you elucidate what you're doing?
Sure. So the SBA reporting requirements are very slim, and they're generalized. In 2018, we were asked by former Congressman Kaikahele to kind of gather the statistics for our members. And so we began asking our member organizations to provide us with, specific give back information that we were then aggregating as a trade organization. And we've been doing it. We've been doing it ever since.
And that's not currently required. That level of specificity is not an SBA requirement.
Correct. That is correct.
I think that's sort of worthy of following up on, because to the extent that there's a desire to get more fidelity on exactly what's happening, money coming in for the contracting, money pushed out to nonprofits, I think that's a pretty valid thing to want. Both people who have a problem with 8A and people who believe it's doing exactly what Congress intended should want more data. And it seems to me it's on SBA to ask for the things that they are alleging do not exist, especially when you're kind of pushing on an open door here. All the 8As are saying, we've got it, we'd be pleased to provide it, maybe we can standardize it between, the ANCs and tribal organizations and NHOs, but I don't hear anybody saying, we don't want to give you the data. I think what we're hearing is, you never asked us for this data, but we have it. Is that fair to say?
That is fair to say. And I think any NHO would be happy to provide more data if they were asked for it.
Final question. Can you provide the committee with a summary of both the economic benefit side and the sort of nonprofit benefit side of what you've been doing over say, the last 5 years? And, I think what we need to do here is to lean into the premise that Congress established this program. It is scaling up. It is a successful program, but like any government contracting program, you need to make sure that the audit function, pre and post, that oversight, that procurement is as tight as possible. And so, to me, this is a high-quality problem to have. If no one were participating, then the law would maybe not be functioning. But now we've got a bunch of people who are doing a bunch of very important things in their native communities. And the more data that the committee can have and the more data that the American taxpayer has that this is worth it to them, then I think this program can grow and survive for another several generations. Thank you.
Well, and thank you, Senator Schatz, for that, because I think that's one of the reasons that we're having this hearing today, because of what some of these misconceptions are out there. We're seeing this heightened scrutiny, the public attention, the media attention to the 8A program. And again, I think that there's just a lot of misconception out there about how it really works, but also understanding not only the program's statutory purpose, but, as you point out, the accountability measures that are required in law and that are then additive based on the determinations that you are making. But the effort to create a solid record here is really important today. And so you all have provided, in my view, exceptionally strong testimony. I appreciate that. And if I ask some questions that you think are repetitive because you've stated it a little bit, it's just because I think we need to enunciate and underscore. And so I want to focus my questions on the things that I want to come from this committee, and that is a focus on the community benefits, a focus on the compliance aspect of it. And so let me just speak about ask about the community benefits first. And I think that the exchange that we just saw with the chief and Senator Mullen was very instructive as it relates to the Cherokee 8A program and some of the very local, like getting a new bus, to efforts on law enforcement, housing, health care. These are substantive, these are real, these are meaningful, and they are making a difference, just as the law, just as the obligation that we have under the Federal Trust Responsibility requires. So I think we saw some real substantive examples there. I think for the ANCs, it's a little bit different with ANCSA and this model of self-determination. So I'm going to turn to you, Katherine, about just talk real briefly, if you will, about the ANCSA framework, how it ties in with the 8A program, and the importance of 8A to the shareholders.
Sure. Thank you, Senator. So ANCSA, or the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act, was enacted by Congress in 1971, and Congress wanted to do a different system than the reservation system down in the lower 48 to settle the land claims of the Alaska Native people. For-profit corporations were set up and charged with advancing the social, cultural, and economic well-being of our shareholders, of our Alaska Native people. However, the missing piece from this structure was the economic engine, and the 8A program filled this gap. It's allowed us to build businesses, generate revenue, and compete in the federal marketplace. This revenue is what makes our benefits possible, and it's what turns economic opportunity into lasting benefits for our shareholders.
So, Ms. Watson, you've got some long-term and perhaps unique experiences within the 8A program and ensuring community benefits. Can you talk a little bit about what the 8A program and BBNC's participation has meant to you? You note that you were born and raised in a very small community down in Perryville. You obviously had an opportunity to go out and get education beyond Perryville, beyond the region. Maybe you can speak to that a little bit if you would.
Thank you. So my presence here today is a symbol of the real impact of the 8A program and BBNC's participation in it. As a shareholder, many of the opportunities I've had throughout my life are directly tied to the economic capacity this program helps create. In addition to receiving quarterly dividends, I have benefited from resume assistance and career development resources. I participated in a 1-year on-the-job training program and later completed BBNC's 2-year management development program, Training Without Walls, which played a meaningful role in preparing me for leadership responsibilities. I am also a scholarship recipient, and I'm currently pursuing my 3rd degree. The impact extends beyond me. My daughter is also a scholarship recipient and is currently a senior completing her bachelor's degree. She participated in BBNC's Young Adult Culture Camp. My niece, who is also a scholarship recipient, earned her 2 bachelor's degrees from Brown University and her master's degree from University of Michigan, where she currently is pursuing her PhD. And during one of her summer breaks, she participated in BBNC's internship program. And when she transitioned from Brown to Michigan, she also received emergency funding to help support that move. I would be remiss if I did not mention my son, who joined the United States Marine Corps. He was able to use his BBNC dividends that he saved toward the payment on his first house that he should be closing on this week. These are just a few examples that I know personally that impact not only myself, but my family members, of direct outcomes resulting from sustained, responsible participation in the 8A program, where BBNC intentionally reinvested in its shareholders and the community. The program connects economic development to long-term self-determination and creates opportunities that extend across generations well into the future.
And I love the very specific and very personal example within your family of multi-generations that have benefited through the scholarship opportunities. And thank you for your son's service and your family as you support him. And I really appreciate what you have shared about one example being the mobile DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles. Most people would not think that that's any kind of a big deal, but when you are in a community that is not connected by roads to other places, I think you said it was $1,600 to get yourself from Perryville to Anchorage, where you might be going to get your real ID. If people can't get their ID, if they can't get a driver's license, their opportunities for travel, for health care, for work opportunities are limited. So it may seem like a simple thing. It's kind of like the bus purchase, but it means real value, real differences to people in their communities. Senator Cortez Masto.
Thank you. First of all, let me just say thank you to the chairwoman, ranking member, for having this hearing. I think it is so important, and to the panelists for participating. We have watched over the past year, the Small Business Administration and other agencies have launched audits, requested unprecedented access to company data, made sweeping suspensions of 8A participating companies. Now, I fully agree that to the extent there is fraud or waste, we should be cleaning that up and protecting taxpayer dollars. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. I am worried, however, about the aggressive and abrupt changes that this administration is taking, which will chill legitimate tribal businesses' participation in the program. To the extent that fraud in the 8A program is an issue, it would be a better approach to allow the SBA Inspector General to conduct the investigation rather than this haphazard suspending thousands of companies from the program that we have seen this administration. And that's why I so appreciate the conversation today about the importance and the positive impacts of the 8A program and what it has brought to our tribal communities and communities, Native communities across the country. And thank you for talking about it, because this is one example where we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? This is where we still provide relief and support. Listen, let me just say, in Nevada, we have nearly 2,000 Native American-owned firms. And the 8A program creates many good-paying jobs. It supports small business success and expands economic opportunity where it is needed most. I'm curious if any of you can address in what ways does the federal government benefit by delivering contracting awards through this program? I'm curious if any of you have thought about that in any way and can talk to that. Chief? Mm-hmm.
Well, Senator, I can just say that our federal contracting arm, Cherokee Federal, is a excellent deliverer of services to the United States. And we built capacity over the years. So for the United States to have more capacity across the country is inherently a good thing. We are looked at as an entity that can deliver for warfighters in the front lines. We're currently working with the Department of Defense on frontline military support, but also things that the United States needs to focus on and does focus on, which is to support warfighters. So we may be operating on the same day for support of missile defense systems, but we're also working to make sure women, infant, and children programs are delivered to military families. And that only comes from building capacity. Generations ago, Cherokee Nation began its federal contracting journey through a little company called Cherokee Nation Industries in the little community of Stillwell. And today, thousands and thousands of employees around the globe. We're ready to move. We're nimble. We've proven it. The United States needs more of that, not less of it. And they'll have less of it if what we're hearing through this rhetoric continues, because it's had a chilling effect. I mean, right now, we've got our folks at Cherokee Federal talking to contracting officers, having to ask questions about whether we're under investigation, whether there's some fraud afoot. We ought to be talking about how effective we are, how we can solve problems. We've got a demonstrated record of solving problems, again, across that broad range of delivery. And so I just think we've made the nation stronger as a result of us increasing capacity.
Thank you, Chief. Anyone else on that subject? Because I think that's absolutely right. There are so many benefits here that this administration is not taking into account. And I really appreciate your comments. I think all of us do on the panel. I know I have a little bit of time left, but I'm going to yield that time. I think the comments that you have all made, the benefits of the program, the fact that we are seeing a generation of business owners and entrepreneurs in Native communities, not now, but also for the future, it matters. And it is a benefit, not just to communities, but to the federal government as well. So thank you.